Today is the International Day of Persons with Disability, and we are here to talk about gender and disability-based violence. This is Guardian TV, and I am Victor Odogwu. With me here today is Eleanora Boyo, who is the founder of House of Eleanora Foundation, and she's also a certified disability advocate. Welcome to Guardian TV.
Thank you, Victor. It's nice to be here.
How would you define gender and disability-based violence in your own words?
Okay. Firstly, I think before we can even dive into what gender and disability-based violence is, it would be good for us to take it bit by bit. So first of all, we should understand what gender is. A lot of people they misunderstand gender and sex. So sex is biologically proven. Science can prove sex, but gender is a social construct, and because it is a social construct, it has cost limitations, and there are expectations for achievements based on your gender. So the definition of disability, I would like to use the United Nations Convention on Rights of Persons with Disability. And the UN defines disability as a physical, mental, intellectual, or sensory impairment that limits the function of a person based on, so you cannot perform as fully or on the equal level with a person without disability. And violence is any force that dehumanize or damage or destroy any person or thing. So bringing all of that together, gender and disability-based violence is the form of violence persons with disability face due to their vulnerability and their gender. So
it means that persons with disability are more prone to going through this type of violence. Is that good to say?
Yes, that is very correct. They are more prone to it because they are more vulnerable due to their disability.
All right. So, I don't know, do you normally hear, or have you been hearing of cases such as this? The occurrence of this abuse, maybe emotional abuse or whatsoever type of abuse, do you normally hear them on a more regular scale, like in recent time?
Yes. One thing that really upscaled the rate of gender and disability-based violence is the COVID pandemic that happened. So we all went into lockdown, and that increased the rate of disability, of gender and disability-based violence. And we have physical disability, sexual, socio-economical, emotional and psychological, and we have traditional harmful practices. So during the physical violence happened a lot, physical and sexual violence happened a lot during COVID because everybody was locked in. And yes, you asked me if I hear it regularly. Yes, people report. So we have high numbers when it comes to reported cases, especially from some specific local government area like Alimosho, Ikeja, Surulere, and so on. So we have cases from there between women and children with disability and without disability.
All right, so there are a number of gender-based violence. We have emotional abuse, we have physical abuse, we have sexual abuse, harmful attractional practices, etc. Yes. Now, let's talk about emotional abuse. Not everybody believes emotional abuse is a thing, because some people may just be, okay, I just insulting somebody, I just speaking bad about somebody. So you're just demeaning somebody with your words. Since there's no physical damage, is that really an abuse? So what do you have to say about this?
Yes. Emotional and psychological abuse is a thing, and it is as big a deal as physical, sexual, tradition. Every form of abuse leads to emotional and psychological abuse. I think the reason people don't really take it as a thing is because, you can't really report emotional and psychological abuse because you cannot prove it. And something that you cannot prove, it will be hard to prosecute for such type of violence or such type of abuse. Every form of abuse leads to it. If you are raped, it would affect your emotional and psychological state of mind. If you go to an employment and they reject you just because of your disability, it can affect your emotional and psychological state of mind. And another thing that really affects our emotional and psychological state of mind are the derogatory words we use to address persons with disability, the derogatory words and the stereotypes attached to persons with disability. So for example, we have the people that are managing autism, that's intellectual or sensory disability, and you hear people call them different names like imbecile. Some people even say they are way. I think that's mad. Yeah, way. Some people, the people on wheelchair, they call them wheelchair bound.
Or
those
crippled.
people crippled, handicapped. People with visual impairments that are putting on like glasses, thick ones like myself.
Yeah.
You hear words like Odogwu, Google Lens. Different type of things that you would not even expect exist. People would address you with it. And when you continue to hear words like this, at a point you start believing those words. You start seeing those words as your reality, and which can reduce your self-esteem in the first place. So those type of dehumanizing words can really go a long way in the emotional and psychological state of a person with disability. So
we are currently going through the 16-day advocacy for the end of gender-based violence for women and girls. What's the theme, and have you been following it?
Yes, I have been following it. The theme is Orange the World, End Sexual and Gender-Based Violence Against Women and Girls Now.
So what will you say would be your 3-step solution towards ending this now? Because I've been talking about it for a while.
Yes.
It's not new. So what do you say will be your 3-step policy towards ending it now?
Yes. Since you even mentioned policy, let's talk about policy. We should, first step is women, girls, children, persons with disability, persons without disability. Everybody, we all should familiarize ourselves with the policies in place, because the government they've created this policy, they've put it into motion. We have the VAP Act, that's Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. We have Lagos Special Persons Law. We have Disability Acts. We have the UNCRPD, that's the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability. If we go through all these things, if we read it and understand it, we would understand our rights. First of all, you as a person with disability would know your rights. A person without disability would begin to understand your rights, because some persons without disability don't see persons with disability on the same level as themselves. And you see, in these rights, we have the equality to opportunities, equality to individual autonomy, rights to accessibility. All these things are in there. All we need to do is read them and understand them. That's the first step. Then the second step, if you see something, say something. Report any form of violence. It is your business. Because some people, they will be beating your neighbor. You say it's your neighbor, it's not your business. It is your business, because you have the responsibility. You are responsible for that person. So any time you see somebody going through violence or anytime you see somebody discriminating another person, report the situation. Then the last thing I'll say is we all should be as human as we can. All these things, just this whole advocacy, the whole talk, the action, if everybody is as human as possible, we wouldn't be having this conversation now. Treat people the way you want to be treated, and it will end now.
Okay. Treat people the way you want to be treated, and it will end now. That's amazing. So, since we are also still on the topic of profiling solutions, let's talk about disability. You are a disability advocate.
Yes, I am.
We have always had disability advocates, but gender and disability-based violence are still continued to occur, sadly so. What can a person do on an individual level? Yes, we have advocates, but a lay person on the street that does not have it in them to want to be an advocate, what can they do towards contributing to the end of gender and disability-based violence?
It's very simple. And as cliche as it sounds, be your neighbor's keeper. Just always know that you are not just existing for yourself. You are also existing for others. So, like I said, if you see anybody going through discrimination or violence, report the case and just be there. Be there for the person emotionally and financially if you can. Be there, support the person through it, and we should change our mindsets as individuals. We should change our mindsets about persons with disability. We should not see them less human than us. We should know that they are human. So as an individual, just know that you don't exist for yourself and you have the responsibility to also look out for your neighbor.
All right, look out for your neighbor. Very interesting words there. So if someone wants to look out for their neighbor and they witness maybe a father emotionally abusing his child or restricting the child's movement because of the child's disability, where can that caring neighbor contact in order to rescue that child, so to say?
Okay, you can report my SD. You can report to Lagos State Office for Persons with Disability. That's the Lasoda office. You can also, if in Dembo, maybe they are going through domestic violence, you can go to Lagos State Office for Domestic Violence. And you can check online. There are many associations, NGOs, organizations. You can go to IFA if you like. And we all can just Inclusive Friends Association.
All right.
Yes, and we all should just come together and amplify our voice.
All right, amplify voices. Amplify our voice, very nice word. So as we go, any last words you have for our viewers?
Yes, don't stop the advocacy. Advocacy is in you. You can advocate. You don't have to be a certified advocate. You don't have to come on TV. Do your advocacy as an individual. Say something. Pass on the torch of knowledge. Teach people what you know. Don't keep knowledge to yourself. Share it with people. Let people know that gender and disability-based violence is a wrong thing and should be stopped now.
Thank you very much for coming to have this discussion with us. It was really enlightening.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure being here.
All right, this has been Guardian TV. I am Victor Odogwu, and we have been talking about gender and disability-based violence. Let's keep helping out and let's keep watching out for our neighbors. Till next time, keep watching and following Guardian TV.